As of now, we're just about a week away from the release of Starfield. Well, at least for me, because I got the premium version. And Starfield has already been compared to a load of different space sims, as is of course for a game that's as hyped as this one is. But the game that it's compared to most is actually a game that promised similar things during its own launch, which is No Man's Sky. From the sheer amount of planets to the scanning and the crafting systems, it's easy to see the similarities and the differences in these two games. A lot of talk is made about Starfield replacing these space sims, but what if these games not only coexisted, but thrived together? Now I will say up front that is a tall order, not just for these two games in general, but because this genre of games just require a lot of time. They demand your attention, wanting you to sink hours into exploring each planet, discovering the lore, and finding all the secrets that it has to offer. No Man's Sky and Starfield are no different. No Man's Sky has millions upon millions of planets, more than any of us will ever be able to explore in our lifetime. Starfield promises a similar experience with only 1,000 planets, but with more details, more narratives, and more secrets to uncover. It promises hundreds of hours of exploration without even being close to completing the main game. And at release, there will be a lot of people leaving No Man's Sky, at least for a short time, with many people believing that Starfield will bring an end to No Man's Sky and several other space sims and becoming the main game for the genre. But I believe that Starfield would not erase No Man's Sky, but in fact will coexist beside it for a perfect 1-2 punch for explorer hobbyists. And here's why. Space sims aim to fulfill different purposes for the gamer playing them. And while most games in this genre fulfill those desires, such as scale of exploration, freedom of direction, etc., some of them are stronger in one area than another. And that's what's going to set these two games apart. The biggest one of these differences is going to be multiplayer. No Man's Sky, although it didn't start with it, now has multiplayer and gives you the ability to explore the quite literally limitless universe with your friends. With the addition of crossplay and untethered exploration, you can explore with your friends and truly feel like a small squad of pilots exploring the unknown together. This is not something you're going to get, at least organically, with Starfield, besides the inevitable multiplayer mod that somebody will eventually add to it. But more on that later. In addition to this, because of the multiplayer aspect, there's a strong knit community built around this game. In addition to networking and just talking about the game in general, hardcore players in some areas will meet up and create communities within certain star systems in game, doing extreme role-playing, focused mission, and even living life together in certain systems. Having a shared experience through limited time expedition also helps to weave this community together. None of this is a knock on Starfield, of course, but this is just the area where No Man's Sky shines in. No Man's Sky is also great at forcing you to admire its beauty. Regardless of your playstyle of this game, the fantastical graphics, the procedurally generated flora and fauna, and just the scale of planets you pass by will sometimes force you to just pause what you're doing and just take it all in. Finding a paradise planet and taking as many pictures as possible can take up hours of your time, beckoning you to just come back and look around and consider calling this place home. It remains yet to be seen whether Starfield will have that same pull, with its setting being slightly more realistic when you attempt to compare it to No Man's Sky almost fantasy aesthetic. On the flip side though, Starfield is primed to provide a more active experience to the space sim genre, whereas No Man's Sky does have the occasional battle with sentinels and the random attacks by space pirates. Combat is not a big part of the gameplay. That's primed to change with Starfield, with dozens and dozens of guns and combat designs for the character, and the sheer amount of combat that has been shown through promos leads us to believe that we will spend a good amount of time fighting and killing for the things that we need. Starfield also chooses to implement more player choice directly into the game, where with No Man's Sky you do have the agency to roleplay with your character and play however you like. The only real things affected by your action are your relationships with the various alien races. Even as a bounty hunter or a sheer criminal, there's not much that changes with your relationship with these races outside of snarky comments and the change of prices when buying and selling. But in Starfield, we're getting more of the RPG experience, with the ability to choose a backstory and traits to fill out our characters, with the choices having an active effect on how our characters perform out of the gate. Alongside that, it has been teased that our choices will have a direct effect on the planets we visit, the companions we interact with, and the factions that we encounter. Role-playing holds much more weight in this game, with systems and mechanics that encourage you to choose your character's directions in life and actively make dialogue choices and decisions that make sense for the character you created. So as Starfield gets ready to release, I look at Starfield and No Man's Sky as two sides of the same coin when it comes to exploration. With Starfield coming out, we will have the ultimate single player space sim experience. complete with RPG elements, companion NPCs, and a story to uncover. And with No Man's Sky, we have the more casual, relaxed fantasy style of space sim, and one that we can enjoy with our friends. So if you've been thinking about getting into the genre and you're not already in it, my recommendation would actually be to get both games. Of course, Starfield will be releasing in a couple weeks at a full price. No Man's Sky is actually on sale for about $30 right now. And of course, you can make the decision based on whether you'll be playing alone and sharing your experiences, or wanting to squad up with your friends and take on the universe together. But now I want to hear what you guys think. Will you still be playing No Man's Sky when Starfield releases, or will you be switching over? Feel free to let me know in the comments, and if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. It really helps. If you haven't noticed, this is actually my second channel. This is the first video on this channel, so we're trying to get it off the ground. So a like and a subscribe goes a long way, and I will see you guys on the next video.